What's up, Laker fans? Welcome to the Laker Film Room Podcast. I'm Pete, joined by Darius. And yesterday we got an update on Jared Vanderbilt, D. And then a little bit later, we're going to talk about the game tonight against Orlando, against a very good team who just had their winning streak snapped last night against the Clippers. Should be a very good game and the first good team the Lakers have played in a little bit. But first, Jared Vanderbilt has been 2 weeks away from being 2 weeks away for about 9 months now. And so, D, talk to me. What do we know?
Yeah, so he apparently continues to progress in his rehab. He has not had any setbacks. A couple of different tweets were worded a little bit differently, but needless to say, it's taking a bit longer than anticipated for his recovery. He's going to be evaluated again in a couple of weeks. And so 2 weeks away from 2 weeks away is about right. Yesterday, I was on social media and I just decided to dig through the timeline of what's been going on with Jared Vanderbilt. Obviously, he got hurt last February in that fantastic win against Boston. It was near the, I think, end of the first half. A few minutes left in the first
second
half.
Quarter. Mm-hmm.
And he loose ball, sprinted after it, and then basically came up hobbling, sort of limped off the court, and that was that. There was even uncertainty last year as to what exactly was wrong. Will he need surgery? It was described as a mid-foot sprain, and that based off of both public reporting from the team and from sourced reporting, that he was going to try to stave off surgery and see if he could come back. Vando was on the injury report through the rest of the regular season and into the playoffs. Right before Game 5, Pete, and I looked this up last night, right before Game 5, his status changed from out to questionable for Game 5. And then on the final list that goes out, that Lakers Media Relations puts out, it'll show you the list of inactives. And Vanderbilt was not on the inactive list. So if he was officially out, basically questionable to not going to play at all or unable to play at all, he would have been on the inactive list. He was not on the inactive list, whether or not that was gamesmanship or whatever. So I recall you and I having conversations about this last year about that sort of uncertainty and him being removed from the inactive list. To me, that means that you're available. You went into a game questionable, you're not on the inactive list, you're available. But whatever, Vanderbilt did not play. Fast forward all the way to September, and it's JJ Redick and Rob Pelinka, and they're in front of microphones a few days before Media Day is set to happen. And I think that's September 25th. And Rob Pelinka informs everyone that Jared Vanderbilt indeed did have foot surgery. And this was after a sort of report that had noted that it was unclear if Vanderbilt did have foot surgery or not, but that it was thought that he did not. So it turns out he not only had one foot surgery, but he had 2 foot surgeries, one on each foot. And if I recall, based off of the reports that came out, 2 foot surgeries, and there was optimism that Vanderbilt would be available for opening night. Fast forward again to October 17th. So we got a report saying that his rehab was ongoing, he was progressing as planned, and that we would have an update in 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, on November 1st, we got a report saying that rehab was ongoing, that Vanderbilt had experienced some soreness, but there was nothing out of the ordinary around this, and that it was said he did not have any setbacks, and that we would be provided an update in 1 to 2 weeks. And then, yesterday, on the 20th, Pete, we got the update that you just noted, that Vanderbilt continues to progress in his rehab, and that he has not had any setbacks. That was stated again, but that he'll be evaluated again in 2 weeks. On the surface, I'm of two minds of this, but I just want to sort of kick that timeline back to you, Pete. It's just a long time of this, of a lot of uncertainty, and I'd just love to get your thoughts about where it all stands, because like I said, I've got a couple of dueling perspectives here.
Yeah, I feel like I've said a lot of what I have to say about the situation. So, yeah, it's been 9 months of murkiness, and it continues to be murky. And I think that's the most irritating thing as a fan, is that it's just unclear. And maybe that's just what it's been the whole time, and that circumstances have led it that way. It's just that's part of the experience as a fan, is expecting certain players to be there, expecting certain players not to be. And it's part of riding the wave, right? And I just think it's a consideration to your fans to be clearer about that than the team has been. But not being privy to all of the information, I don't know where they have and haven't. It's just as you laid out on a clear timeline, there's been a level of, hey, we hope and expect him to be back by the beginning of the season, that at least that was clear enough, presented clearly enough to be like, hey, we're November 21st as we record this. And we're still 2 weeks away from an evaluation, which doesn't mean anything, right? Like, we've been that for a minute now.
Yeah. And so part of the job, and maybe internally they do not see it this way. And so this is totally from an outsider's perspective and from a fan's perspective. But to me, part of the main job of media relations from a team, like the public-facing voice, right, is to properly set expectations for where things are, particularly around injuries, right? And so you can't always get it right.
Of course.
And this is why the idea of there being no setbacks is super important. When the Christian Wood news came out, it was said he had a setback. Mm-hmm. He experienced soreness in a way that meant a decision has been made to scale back his progression and his return to play protocol. That's very clear in terms of what happened. And that then sets the expectation for the timeline to change. Great. I understand it. The idea that Vanderbilt might be ready for the season was explicitly stated. It may have been hinted at with terms like when the real games start, or when the games matter. I can't remember the exact verbiage that was used, but the implication was strong. And I even went through Mike's timeline just to see what he had said, and Mike's framing it from his own perspective of his own understanding of what the team is reporting, like what the official press release says. And Mike used the word that there's optimism around Vanderbilt being available for opening night. I will say that a couple of days later, Mike had a conversation, I guess, with Vando, or it was intimated, at least through the tweet that went out, that Vanderbilt was sort of less enthusiastic, seemingly, about the idea that he would be ready for opening night. I think this was actually on media day, right? And Vanderbilt is basically saying, yeah, that'd be great. They got me on a plan that I believe in, and so we'll see. Right, which was more open-ended, but it didn't, to me, impact the idea that, the front office and the head coach were saying, we're optimistic that he'll be ready around the start of the season. The season started a month ago. We're at least 2 weeks away from even knowing what's going to happen next. And so that idea that training camp, which started 3 weeks before the start of the season, and now with the hope that he would be ready for the start of the season, that's now 9 weeks ago. So we're over 2 months into what is seemingly now a fictitious timeline. I'm not saying they got it wrong or that they were lying, but they got it terribly wrong. If the idea was, we hope he's going to be ready for the start of the season, and now 9 weeks later, we are going to get an update as to what his progress will be. So that's one piece of things here for me. The other piece of things, Pete, is I just want Vando to be healthy. I want him to be, and when he does come back to play, I want him to be comfortable and ready to come back to play and feel like he's as close to himself as possible, understanding that there's going to be rust and conditioning things and all kinds of other stuff. Vando had a midfoot sprain. There's a lot of stuff that could have been, but a part of the midfoot is there are Liz Frank injuries that I'm no doctor, but I know that those are some of the more serious foot injuries that you can have. The fact that he went from February to April without having surgery, and then it was determined that he should have surgery, to me is already a thing that's like out there, but it shows that it was not healing in the way that they would have liked. And so they did a foot surgery. And so the other side of this is just like, Vando, just get healthy on whatever timeline makes sense. The thing is that don't give us fake timelines and don't set expectations in a way where you sort of lead folks on to believe that something is going to happen only for that to not happen at all. And I would have some grace around this, Pete, if it wasn't like the fourth or fifth injury over the span of the last several years in which this exact same thing has happened. And so let's go to break here so I can cool down a little bit. And
we got a game tonight.
We can get back into the Orlando game.
So Darius, tonight we've got the Orlando Magic on the second night of a back-to-back for them in a game that matches one of the league's best offenses against one of its best defenses. And I think that that's kind of where I want to start the basketball talk with tonight is the Orlando Magic are built in a way that leads with their defense. And I think a lot of the concept of how the team is built, it's these two jumbo initiators, as the great Mike Garcia calls them, in Wagner and Banchero, who's out right now, but built around just big physical guards like Mike Trudell school of guards, 6'5", dive on the floor, physical, will box you out, will jump for a rebound, defend like dogs, And so they got a bunch of those guys. Suggs, KCP, our guy KCP is over there now. Anthony Black has really emerged for them off of the bench. Young 6'6" kid out of Arkansas, I believe, who's just really emerging. I was really impressed by him watching him the other night. And so they're just a big team, D, and they are going to challenge the Lakers in some of the areas that the Lakers are weak. So that whole Lakers struggling to get back in transition, when their defense is set, they're pretty good. And Orlando's offense, especially without Banchero, is not that good when the defense is set. So Orlando's going to come out there and be like, let's make sure the Lakers defense isn't set as often as possible. And with the way the team's been throwing some passes lately, I don't know, D, I'm worried about some pick sixes tonight and some easy layups in transition for Orlando.
Yeah, I would say that worry should be amplified since they're coming off of a loss. They had won, I think, 6 or 7 games in a row. They finally lose. They lose to a game Clippers team. The Clippers are battling hard. They're banged up themselves, or at least without Kawhi Leonard, but they continue to fight and scrap and really give teams a hard time. And so when you look at Orlando coming off of a loss, everyone rides a little bit of a wave when they're winning. The Lakers, I think, are doing that now.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes another team punches you in the mouth a little bit and you're like, oh, I'm used to being ahead, or I'm used to winning these games. And so I expect a focused Magic team and one who is going to probably be very much attuned to what the game plan is in order to try to get back on their winning track. That athleticism that you talk about, I'll be interested to see if Wendell Carter plays this game. He did not play against the Clippers. He's been listed as day-to-day, and so there's a possibility that he doesn't play. Without Carter, that's another big man that I think is just one more front court body. Orlando's got a lot of dudes.
Yeah, Batadze is starting for them right now.
Yeah, and then they come in off of the bench with like Mo Wagner, who is an irritant. The Lakers are very aware of Mo Wagner. He used to play for the Lakers, not for very long. Also, LeBron and AD just saw Mo Wagner up close and personal during the Olympics and the lead up to the Olympics. He plays for Germany, and him and AD and him and Embiid, they've all gotten into like friendly tussles, right, that happen in high-level basketball games.
I think that's a good thing on a night like tonight. Like if you get LeBron and AD spirits up, Lakers absolutely need that to win this game.
100%. And so Wagner's there. Jonathan Isaac, who plays anywhere in between 15 and 25 minutes a night, is one of the more impactful defenders. Isaac's a guy that they can deploy on LeBron or AD. There's not a lot of guys in the league that you can say that that's true of, that a guy that can handle both of those defensive assignments. And so even without Wendell Carter, they've got bodies. That said, Batazde and Wagner as your 1-2 center duo is much different than, to me, if you've got Wendell Carter in the mix as well, particularly when you're on the second night of a back-to-back. Isaac played 21 minutes last night, and they've typically been conservative with him a little bit in terms of how many minutes he'll play.
Can I just say, I'll be mad if Carter plays tonight, because that would be weak as hell to sit out the first night of a back-to-back to save it for the Laker game. You'll only be playing into our conspiracy theories if we do that.
Well, I mean, look, man. I think those conspiracy theories aren't even conspiracies anymore. In fact, they're not even theories.
We have established evidence. Yeah.
Yes, they are now proven.
See you on Tuesday, KD.
Yeah, they are canon. So I still think it's the Lakers front court that is going to need to make the impact here. If you're telling Austin, hey, bro, go beat Suggs and KCP all night long, that's a tough ask for him. D'Lo, the same, right? When he comes in off of the bench. And Orlando does this. You said, Anthony Black's an up-and-coming young athletic guard. He's in that Orlando mold. Orlando drafts dudes. It's just oh, you can't shoot it very well? We'll teach you shooting.
Yeah.
What we can't teach is motor and defensive tenacity and defensive instincts,
size,
and length and size. Yeah. We can't teach that, right? And so give me the tools, and we'll then apply those tools and try to get you up to speed in these other areas. And so, yeah, can the Lakers guards be effective? Sure. So I think tonight, Pete, this is going to be a test of both the Lakers front court ability to score against good defensive talent, but also a test of JJ Redick's schemes and what he's doing on a play-to-play basis in order to try to facilitate that success when your guards are probably disadvantaged in a lot of ways physically, which has not been the case in some of these recent games. It's Utah, Sexton's small and Clarkson's just a dude. It's and some of these recent games, even the Spurs, the Pelicans, it's not they were throwing out these defensive aces. It's just no, man, Suggs is an all defensive level player.
For sure.
He made the team last year. These are guys that are going to no, man, we got the clamps. We're going to try to apply them. So I'm interested to see what wrinkles there are, because JJ is a game plan, opponent specific. These are the tweaks. And so I want to see if there's any adjustments made.
So yeah, I think the place to start is always from personnel. And one of the things I'm interested in is Orlando is the number one team in the league in points in the paint allowed, as in the fewest points in the paint allowed. And this is a point of pride for a Lakers team that does that very well. So this is a cool matchup of two teams that are kind of at the best in the league at this specific aspect of the game. Now, with their injuries, that makes it harder. And I think that's where the game plan should start. Is one of the ways that I think you can beat a good defensive team is attacking them in a place where they're not used to being attacked. And there aren't a ton of teams in the league that can attack you offensively one-on-one from the 5 spot. Now, there are a few for sure, but you look at their personnel, there isn't any individual that can really match up with AD. Now, there are guys that, you brought up, Jonathan Isaac can be an option, and he can match AD's length, right? He can go toe-to-toe with him in an aspect where AD is elite, right? But if AD can get into his power game, Isaac doesn't really have enough to keep him off of the free throw line, off of putbacks, you know what I mean? AD walks those guys under. He wins those matchups all of the time. And whereas a guy like Batadze, I think is better than people naturally might realize. And he is a guy that if his one thing tonight is my job tonight is to make life as difficult as possible on Anthony Davis, he's got some tools to be able to do. AD's going to have to bring it, I guess is my point.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree. Let's go to break here, Pete. And when we come back, I want to continue the conversation on the paint. So if you look at last night's box score between the Clippers and Orlando, how many offensive rebounds do you think the Clippers had, just off the top of your head?
Oh, man. The Clippers are an interesting team, too. Gosh, 5?
Zubats had 8 by himself.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant the other way around.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
Zoo was killing it. Yes.
Yes. And so, to your point about size and interior, it's not just to me about can you score one-on-one from the post or attack the paint from an individual standpoint with LeBron or AD turning and catching a mid post and then turning and facing and going after it. The Lakers actually don't do that a ton anyway within the context of their offense. They run pick and roll. They like run horn stuff and cut. They do empty side stuff in which AD gets the ball in the pocket, or they get middle and pick and roll a lot. This is going to be an important aspect of the game as well. And one of the ways that Zoo will attack you, and the Clippers had 15 offensive rebounds overall, and Zubats had half of those himself, or a little bit more than half with 8. When you talk about threatening a team where they're supposed to be strong, it's not just LeBron and AD. It's, can you manufacture downhill opportunities for your guards against guards who are supposed to shut off your water and getting to the basket at all? One of the ways you can do that is by running a little bit more pick and roll, or by setting good screens, and by leveraging all of the cuts, the slot actions, and all of that stuff. Because Batazde, he was a guy that I was hoping the Lakers would sort of chase in free agency.
Yes, you texted me
as
several
like
times.
A minimum level dude. Like,
yeah, I was like,
yes,
no,
I
he's
sent
not going
a
for
lot
minimum.
of texts, like,
for sure.
Well, I was just
it's
like,
part
they
of their
got
build. Yeah.
3 other dudes who play center, and they brought them all back. It totally is. But he's a guy who likes to chase the ball. He's a decently good rim protector. He can rebound the ball pretty well too. But if he's a guy that's going to chase blocks, it's the second wave of offensive rebounding that can really hurt you there. And the way that you can get AD 6, 7, 8 free points is if it's your guards or your forwards who are able to get downhill and get the ball up on the backboard. And even if they miss, it's AD coming in to clean up the mess.
So who are our guards and forwards who can do that?
So I'm interested in Connect to a certain extent, and I'm interested in Austin. Connect is a guy that can do this by attacking closeouts and by curling off of screens rather than flaring and popping more in order to get the three-point shot that he's been killing off of. The Lakers also run those nifty weave actions at the top where the ball, where the guard who is supposed to flow into a DHO does keeper action, and they just dribble and get downhill a lot. Austin gets probably a layup attempt a game doing that singular thing. So I'm hopeful that Austin puts the Jets on a little bit and plays with a little bit more north-south. He has that in his game. He does not display it as often, but those are the 2 guys where I'm just like, you 2 can do it. I'm also interested in Cam. Cam can do it some too.
Let me jump in here. Those are the 2 guys I'm interested in are Rui and Cam.
Oh.
And so will Rui play or not? You have to match force with force. And so Orlando is going to pick you up full or 3/4 court. They're going to pressure you in the half court, but they're going to try to beat you with force to a great degree. And so the most forceful players on the Lakers are going to be really important tonight, I think. And even like LeBron's role, I think, as the power guard rather than the sort of back to the basket post up guy, I think that's less of that post up guy this game and more of the pick and roll type of guy that you're talking about, and sort of creating that combined force of LeBron's going downhill, AD's going downhill. Now you can spray it out to Dalton. You can spray it out to hopefully Rui, right? Hopefully he plays tonight. D'Lo, Austin. You've got that. You're able to compromise the defense to a degree that creates the open looks that Orlando isn't used to giving up because they're very good in a lot of those different areas. But you can sort of get to a level of force that's necessary, but only to me if LeBron kind of has that. And if he doesn't have that tonight, that's part of the season, you know?
Yeah, it's just harder that way. Let's switch to the other side of the ball.
Can I just one more thing on that? Meeting that force with force, Cam and Rui both have an level of like, oh, you want to be athletic guards? I'm an athletic too. I'm a tall too. You want to try to dribble through my chest the way you do with Austin or D'Lo? I'm going to strip you down low and we're going to go have a fast break. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he can play in that realm in that Orlando's going to try to attack the Lakers. So I think Cam has a level of defensive force that's just been important in general for the Lakers, but I think he's going to be really important tonight.
I definitely agree. Cam is the one guy who's like a natural slasher on this team. Mm-hmm. LeBron is obviously natural at everything. I sort of leave LeBron out when it comes to these conversations. But Cam is the guy who instinctively wants to get downhill. He wants to sort of shoot the gap, and he does this on both sides of the ball. And so I did want to talk about the Lakers' defense against Orlando's offense. Another tall, rangy wing in Franz Wagner in this game. Wagner has really bounced back from last year and filled in with Paolo out. It's like, we need a primary creator again. And Wagner's that dude. And he looks like the return to form of like, I'm an all-star level player in this league. He just got a max contract extension off of his rookie deal this past summer. And with that came a lot of expectations. And he seems to be living that out right now. It's just like, yeah, I'm still one of those dudes. He's the primary guy, I feel like. If the Lakers can slow him, they can pull Orlando's already sort of like sluggish offense like into the quicksand a little bit more. How do you envision the Lakers attacking Wagner? Is it Cam's responsibility again? And then how do you envision them defending him in like one-on-one matchups in terms of like pushing him to shoot? Like, that's the natural tendency.
For sure. Yeah, I think Cam is central to all of this in that watching Wagner, I was like, oh, his ball handling has gotten better from the last time I saw him. And that's something that I think Cam can challenge. There are so many plays. I'm putting together sort of like a library of all of the relevant plays throughout the season, and I'm doing my color coding right now by player. And in going through it, it's like, damn, there's another pass deflected by Cam, who's only played in like half the games at this point. But just the volume of being a pain in the ass disruptor on offense. And so with a guy like Wagner, he's this guy who is tall, who has grown into an on-ball number one type of guy with an improvement to his ball handling. Brent B.I. is another guy who sort of followed this path where it was like, oh, his ball handling got better. And it's like, all of a sudden you can't do anything with him because he's able to get to his spots and create separation. And once he already creates separation on the ground, he can elevate to a level, whether it's for a layup, a dunk at the rim, or just a jumper over the top that is a very easy, clean shot. We see this with Connect, right? Where it's like, oh, he's going to be able to get that shot off a lot because he's tall for sort of the action that he's running. But so with me, you attack a guy where he kind of just improved, meaning that Cam is super disruptive at getting all those deflections down low. This is a game where I think you have to press up on Wagner with Cam and then understand that he's going to get beat a little. Ideally, give Cam some guidelines as to not pick up 2 fouls in the first 4 minutes, because that can be a danger of playing that type of style. But I think that stopping the machine before it starts offensively is a way to go. And I think Cam sort of might have an advantage attacking his ball handling.
Yeah, and I honestly think for Cam, playing the game before against Larry Markkinen, only to then play a game against Franz Wagner, they're not exactly the same sort of player. Markkinen is much more of a shooter, but in terms of the tall, rangy, offensive engine sort of guy, and can I disrupt your handle? The first defensive possession Cam had against Markkinen tried to attack him off of the dribble. Cam closed out, Markkinen attacks, and Cam reached in and poked the ball away. It ended up that Utah still ended up with the possession, but I was just like, oh, Cam is active this game, and he's going to need to carry over that activity against Wagner. The other thing that I'm looking for, Pete, is just like winning on the margins is going to be super important whenever you play a good team, and Orlando's a good team. The Lakers need to keep their turnovers down.
Yeah.
They need to win the glass. They need to win the free throw game. Without Banchero, they are not as heavy of a free throw team because Paolo shoots like 10 or 11 a game. When he was in the lineup, he was one of the league leaders. If AD and LeBron can draw fouls, and if the Lakers can get this team into the penalty a little bit, and the Lakers can continue to be a non-fouling team against a team that wants to play physical while still not just giving them the red carpet to the lane, right? Which is, they may need to foul a little bit more this game, honestly.
Yeah. And that's why that's number 3 for me behind turnovers and offensive rebounds. There is going to be a certain level of like, just don't give up that easy putback. Send them to the line that is going to lead to a certain level of free throws. There is just a size differential, especially, gosh, if Rui doesn't play, it's going to be a big difference where that's just how it's going to work out sometimes. Max's ability to switch onto a taller play, but they're physical though, right? Like Max has shown some weakness on being pushed under in ways that concern me. So yeah, if Rui doesn't play, the Lakers are so undersized that it's more about like fight for your life to not give up a zillion offensive rebounds to them. Don't throw easy passes that get them out into transition and easy layups on the other end. Those are the headline items for me.
Yeah, and they are undersized. It's going to be important, though, for the Lakers guards to be physical and stand up to the physicality of the Magic's guards. Maybe this will come back to bite me. I'm less concerned about the physicality of their forwards. It'd be nice if Rui played, and like I get it, but without Banchero, it's like Tristan Da Silva, and Da Silva's a very nice player. I know he was someone that you liked in the draft, and he started the last game against the Clippers. Da Silva's a different sort of player, lankier, can move off screens, can shoot the ball a little bit, but he's not the same sort of like, oh, I'm going to play with a bunch of force, right? But their guards are going to crash. Suggs is going to crash. Black is going to crash.
Yes.
Even Gary Harris is going to corner crash some, right? These are guys that the Lakers guards need to have their heads on the swivel. They need to box out. They need to crash down. They cannot leak out at all. Mm-hmm. This is a game where Orlando wants you to play in the mud with them, and the Lakers are going to need to get dirty this game. But if they're willing to do that dirty work, they have advantages offensively that they can stress against a very good defensive Magic team. And Orlando is not always going to be prepared for what it looks like when LeBron is in early offense and the only guys back are Da Silva and Anthony Black. It's just like, okay, like this may work against some dudes, but it don't work against this guy. And so I'm hopeful that the Lakers play with the requisite force of meeting the moment.
LeBron's had several games of double-digit rebounds, and I think he'll need to have another one if the Lakers want to win tonight. We'll be back tomorrow to discuss how it went, but until then, you've been listening to the Laker Film Room Podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.
James has got it in low to McHale. McHale wants to turn, he's double teamed. Just pass out in front, broken up by Worthy. Tip to Magic. Worthy dies on his belly. Magic scores.
There's Magic, got it. Magic fires. It's good. They will. Lakers win the game. The Lakers win the game. Rebound of Lonnie. 3 seconds left. Van Exel to win it. It's on the way. Good.
Kobe Bryant, 48 points, 16 rebounds.
Shot with his 8th block shot that ties an NBA Finals record.
A lot of Laker fans sticking around for this.
You're seeing something that's very rare indeed. A Laker to get MVP chance
in Boston. Of all places.
Are you kidding me?
Kobe, hard to believe.
Are you kidding me? Unreal. Are you kidding me?
Lakers looking to push. Bryant spinning in the lane. Back for Gasol. Pretty pass. And it's back to a 3-point game.
Kobe Bryant picked up by Bell.
There's the move. 2, 1.
Miss it.
Unbelievable. For the victory. It's over. Shot clock now to 5. Bryant. Yes. And that was a little tap to Alvin Gentry.
Add insult to injury, Kobe. I mean, what a shot. I mean, you can't defend that. Are you kidding me?
2.1 seconds remaining. Denver a foul to give. Jokic trying to disrupt Rondo. He puts it in. Here's Davis, 4-3 in the win. Oh, it's good! Anthony Davis has won it for the Lakers! James again. Oh, he hits another one. LeBron James putting together a closing quarter against the Nuggets.
This historic 2020 NBA championship belongs to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers conquer the bubble, and banner number 17 will soon hang in the rafters.